I want to give you a question to hold for the next 30 minutes, and I'm not asking you to answer it today. Just hold on to it. So here it is. What have you created that you cannot prove you own? Welcome to the Build Lab podcast, where we don't just talk about creativity, we talk about building creative careers that actually last. My name is Ali Oceans. I'm an entertainment and intellectual property lawyer and the CEO of Creatico. And I'm also your guide throughout today's episode, walking you through the business side of creativity. Now, every week we're unpacking one idea that could completely change how you create, protect, and profit from your work. Today's episode is connected to week 2 of the Build Lab Cohort, where we're talking about one of the biggest misconceptions in the creative economy. So today, we're talking about ownership, not inspiration, not talent, not visibility. We're talking about ownership. And one sentence that always comes through when it comes to ownership is making something doesn't automatically mean you own it. Now, this statement alone has probably ruined a few friendships. It has definitely started a few lawsuits, and most importantly, it has cost creatives millions. Because if you do not understand ownership, someone else eventually will. Now, I want to make something very clear. This isn't a formal class. We always cover the heavy lifting, the curriculum, the legal part during our Saturday sessions. So if you're a student already at the Build Lab Cohort, great, see you on Saturday. If you're not, you can actually join our Cohort 2 waitlist. I'll be dropping the link in the description box. Today is about pattern recognition. It's about the why behind the work. I've seen the same story play out over and over again in the Nigerian creative careers, sector. A small silent gap that opens between your creation and someone else's payday. It's a trap most people fall into year after year without even realizing it. So in the next 30 minutes, I do not expect you to fix that gap. No. I just want you to be able to see it. Seeing it is a hard part. Once you can identify it, the rest becomes manageable. If you can't see it, right, it just keeps eating away your potential. So, are you ready? Okay. Now, look at where we are right now, honestly. The Nigerian creative industry in 2026 is genuinely, structurally, and wildly beautiful. Afrobeat plays in stadiums in cities most of us have never been to. We have Westgate and Thames and Burner on rotation we don't even control. Nollywood makes more movies than most countries in the world. The Nigerian designers now show at, Paris Fashion Week. Our makeup artists are setting the visual tones for weddings from Kigali, to Karachi. Our content creators are building audiences that make TV networks jealous. So you see, this whole moment is ours to take. But underneath that gorgeous deserved noise, right, there is something very quiet going on that I want to name. The people who make all of these things, these people that are making all this culture, the actual creators, the ones at the studios and behind the cameras and on the sets and, at the shoots, these people are, for the most part, not the people making or getting rich from it, right? And this is not because they got robbed or they're getting robbed. That's not what's happening here. Nobody is stealing anything, but just not writing anything down. So picture this. It's 2 a.m. in a studio in Lekki. The producer just made a beat that's about to change somebody's life. Everyone in the room is losing their mind. Somebody is screaming. Somebody is already posting, a snippet on their Insta story. Somebody has ordered suya, right? The energy is genuinely outwardly. So one question in that room at that moment that should be happening is, who owns the beat? Now, the legal answer to this can be totally messy because there is no split sheet on the coffee table. There's no work for hire language buried in a WhatsApp thread. Nobody has sent a mail confirming who's getting what. It's just vibes, lip gloss, suya, and 5 people in the room all convinced that they're the main character. Look, in that room, on that night, ownership doesn't matter. Nobody is asking. Nobody cares. It's just a beautiful, creative moment. But do you know when this begins to matter? I'll tell you. The day the song hits 1 million streams, it will matter. The night it gets picked up for a Netflix thing, it will matter. The day that one person in the room decides that they remember the deal very differently from everybody else, it will matter. Now, take this scenario and multiply it by every meaningful collaboration happening across the country right now. I'm talking Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Ibadan, Uyo, every film set, every shoot, every content house, every brand deal signed without a voice note. This is the Nigerian creative industry in 2026. The output is gorgeous, but the documentation gap, you can drive a small car through it. Now, that gap is exactly what we're tackling today. And I'm going to tell you 3 things about that gap that nobody ever sat you down and told you. The first thing nobody explained to you is here in a whole sentence. Making it doesn't mean you own it. Now, when you hear that, your first reaction is, duh, obviously, that's a given. You might even wonder why I'm actually pointing this out. But here's the irony. It only feels obvious from the outside. When you're actually in the process of creating, whether you're a photographer, an editor, a producer, or even a nail tech, there's an intense, genuine feeling that what you're making is yours, right? That feeling is real to you. But guess what? The law isn't looking for feelings. The law is looking for a piece of paper. And there's actually a specific word for this. Lawyers absolutely love this word. It's called divisible. Say it with me. Divisible. It could probably sound like, a dance move, divisible. But in practice, it's not quite as fun as it sounds. It means a claim that can be defeated. It's a claim that starts out as yours. You created it. It's real. It's yours. But but it can be completely overridden by another piece of paper. You see, under the Nigerian law, the moment you create something, the first, you hold the first claim to it. And that is beautiful. That's wonderful. Congratulations. But that claim is divisible. It can be defeated by a contract you signed without reading. It can be wiped out by a work for hire clause the client's lawyer slipped into paragraph 9. An assignment of rights can be buried in a Google form or even a verbal, understanding that everyone remembers differently the moment real money shows up. So the sentence I want you to carry from this episode, I need you to sew it into a pillow if you have to, is that authorship is divisible. You made it, cool, but making it and owning it live in different rooms. And a lot of us have never actually been into the second room. So the second thing nobody warns you about is that when argument starts, and if you stayed in the game long enough, argument will start. Guess what? Nobody cares what you meant. Nobody cares what you understood. Nobody cares cares that you trusted the client. Nobody cares that everyone in the WhatsApp group knew what was going on. Nobody cares that you gave your whole soul to that project. Guy, nobody cares that you and the collaborator have been friends since university. Because at that moment of the, argument, one question, one thing that keeps running through everyone's mind is, what can you prove? Now, this is often where lawyers get the reputation of being annoying. And honestly, I get it. We're the ones asking the unhinged questions like, oh, do you have it in writing? Questions like, can I see the invoice? Questions like, was that text from your client or from you? Questions like, do we have their confirmation? All while everyone else is trying to celebrate a win. But I promise you, we don't ask these questions to be difficult. We ask them because we've seen exactly what happens when that structure is missing. And our job is to make sure your wins stays yours. Now, you remember the scenario I gave earlier on? Permit me to give you more clarity using another picture now. It's 3 years after the shoot, the recording session, or the campaign. Really, it doesn't matter which one because the scenario is always the same. Now, the work you created has become that piece, right? The one that everyone is seeing. Now, a national brand licenses it for a major campaign. It's a 6-figure deal. Easy. Maybe more. But the person collecting that licensing fee isn't you. Everyone knows that you created it. You know it's yours. Even the client knows it's yours. But when the check goes out, it goes to the person who held the strongest paperwork, the person who could legally prove it was theirs to sell. I mean, guy, you can sue. Legally, you'd have a case. But practically, you'd spend more on legal fees than the campaign is actually paying. So, what you do next is you don't sue. Instead, you post a sub-tweet, you vent to a friend, you screenshot the proof, you save it in a folder you've titled never again, then you move on. Multiply this story again by 100 Nigerian creative careers. That is the state of the industry we are in right now. Guys, evidence beats intention every time, every single time. The good news is evidence is completely learnable. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not connection. It's just developing the muscle of writing things down, registering the things you make, getting paper trails before you need the paper trail. Now, the bad news is I cannot make you do it. I can only tell you it matters. Okay, so the third truth I needed to take to heart is this. The gap between ownership and the gap between ownership and authorship. Now, it doesn't look like anything, but that's what is most dangerous about it. Now, if somebody stole from you, you would know. You'd feel it, you'd fight, you'd call a lawyer, you post it on X, you stop working with them. There's a specific bad moment in that, scenario, right? In that place. The ownership gap is not like that. It doesn't have a moment. It has a leak. Value leaks out of, a creative career like water from a bad pipe. Small drip, small drip, small drip. And then 20 years later, that pipe has flooded the entire basement. But the drip never announced itself. And that's what makes it very dangerous. So, what does a drip look like? The photograph that got licensed to somebody else, that's a drip. The song you contributed to that got monetized without you on the split sheet, that's a drip. The signature technique you developed that a whole beauty school now teaches with your name nowhere on the syllables is a drip. The framework you built for a client that they now use as their own IP is a drip. The beat is sold as work for hire for 200,000 naira that ended up on an album that is streaming, that has a stream of 100 million. That has been streamed 100 million times, right? That's a drip. Small values that are slipping away. And here's the honestly hardest thing to sit with. And I want you to hear it. Nobody committed a crime in any of these scenarios. Nobody is a villain. That's why I always laugh when I see artists or anybody come online and I want to drag people they've worked with or collaborated with. It's very funny because there was no crime committed here. Nobody is a villain in this situation. There's just a gap between what you made and what you owned, between what value you created and what evidence supported the claim to it. Your career quietly funded someone else's rights. Nobody meant for that to happen. Everybody meant well, to be fair. And the value still left the building. That's the whole thing. And that's why we're here. So, now that we're here, what do we do with all of this? Now, I'm not going to give you the 5-step framework today. Again, that is a Saturday class thingy. If you actually want to sit inside the whole curriculum from, the 5 asset group, the 4 types of evidence, the specific things to file at the, Nigerian Copyright Commission, contract clauses, all of that really. The Build Lab Cohort 2 opens in October, right? I'll put the link in the show notes, obviously, so you can come play with us. But the takeaway from this episode is not a to-do list. It's a look. Now, here's what I want you to do. I need you to do it probably like sometime between now and next Tuesday. Just take an hour really. Get a blank page or probably your note app, whichever one you're using really. List out every meaningful thing you've made in your career so far. Every song, every photograph, every essay, every framework, every technique, every brand, every video, every blog, every this. Everything that came from you and that matters to you. Just make that list. Now here are the rules. And I need you to actually follow them because I know how creatives can be. Do not do anything without the list. Do not audit it. Do not fix anything. Do not open your laptop at 2 a.m. and try to restore everything. No. Do not spiral about the ones you don't own properly. Do not have a whole existential thing. Just make the list. That's it. That's the whole assignment. And as you're making it, notice which project gave you a small quiet ache when you named them. Notice the ones you already know in your bones that are not properly documented, not properly protected, not properly cleaned. Notice the ones that make you go, That's the whole exercise, because you cannot fix what you cannot see. And most of us are walking around with entire creative careers we've never actually looked at properly. So 3 things to hold on from today. Are you ready? 1, authorship is divisible. 2, evidence beats intention. 3, value leaks quietly. Guys, I need you to sew these 3 things into a pillow and sleep on it. Make sure it's with you. Save them as a screenshot. Text them to yourself. Make frame with it. Whichever one works for you, really. One more thing before I let you go, and I mean this genuinely. The reason this episode exists, the reason the Vibe Lab exists, is because we've watched too many gifted, brilliant, world-class Nigerian creatives leave value on the table for their entire career. And again, this is not because they are not talented. They are. This is not because they are not hardworking, guys. They are. It's because nobody sat them down and said, here is the shape of the thing you are inside of. Consider yourself sat down now, please. So next week, Tuesday, on the Vibe Lab, we're looking at something else. I think we're looking at money. Yes, the difference between making money and keeping money. So looking forward to having you be part of that episode. So if this episode made you think about your friend, you know, the one who has been asking, what should I have been doing about my music, or what should I do about my brand, or what should I do about my content, send them this episode. Share is how, when you share, it's actually how the Vibe Lab travels far and wide. So send this into your group chat, send it as a clip, screenshot the quote. You yourself, take note of this. Subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our podcast, go on social media and follow us there, really. But then again, I need to tell you this: congratulations, you made it this far, and I'm glad you've made your lists, because it will matter very soon. Make that list, it matter very soon. So I'll see you guys on our next episode. Thank you so much for joining in. See you in episode 3. For those who will join our school, see you in the next cohort. Have an amazing day. Bye.